and we all have our 15 minutes of fame, and I'd like to take a couple of my 15 minutes to talk about the rights and the wrongs in the world of professional wrestling.
And it is for the WWE Championship.
This match is for the ECW World Heavyweight Championship.
For the World Heavyweight Championship.
The match and new NWA Heavyweight Champion.
We appreciate you guys coming out and taking your time to support women's wrestling in America.
This match is for the AWA World Heavyweight Wrestling Championship.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Rights and Wrongs, a pro wrestling podcast. This is your host, Mr. Green, and it is time to go into another full-on review of Wild Women Wrestling. And, of course, along the way, we're going to talk about a couple of things as it comes up. Normally that takes place in the news, views, and updates portion of the show. But the meat of this particular episode is going to be the review itself. Why? Well, two reasons, really. One, the opening match. Two, the closing match. So we got the opener and we got the main event. Those two matches in and of itself is probably every reason why I'm like, yeah, this probably needs to be talked about in some regard or form. How are you, ladies and gentlemen? If I hadn't, thank you for tuning in. Please accept my thanks for tuning in and listening to the show and hearing me ramble and rant about my opinions about WoW and this how it's been set up and women's wrestling just in general. Try to provide some level of outlet these days to the women's wrestling scene. As some of you may or may not know, years ago there was, at least in the southeast for my particular area, I would run around and I would shoot the matches of several of the ladies who just did not, at the time, receive the coverage that they would have liked. So it was a part of my my little attempt to aid and help some of these ladies out and the presentation of some of their matches on my channel, recording it, providing some outlet, providing some commentary and what have you. But as time went on and that pandemic took place, that kind of dwindled down, and then we kept it going with this. And I certainly appreciate your time and your effort, giving me your time, more specifically, to listen to this. So, as we've gone into that, why don't we move into the news, views, and updates? And then we will see what's going on in the women's wrestling right now. And then when that is done, it'll be review time. So let's hit the first portion of this. Up now, news, views, and updates. All right. And what is going on in the world of women's wrestling right now? Well, there are a couple of things that we have happening. One of which, we got some returns that have gone on in TNA. That being Killer Kelly has returned to TNA in his Knockouts division. That was the follow-up behind Masha Slamovich as she successfully defended her Knockouts World Championship against Li Ying Li. I hope I'm saying that right. One of the things that I had kind of criticized isn't the right word, but one of the things that I noted about her particular championship reign is that she didn't seem to have a lot of challengers to help position her as a top champion. And that's certainly nothing against Slamovich. Slamovich is a very accomplished and great wrestler. I would have liked to have used one of her promos on the show last week in the Talking the Talk segment, but it was kind of littered with music that I wouldn't have been able to pass. So at least the one that I wanted. So I had to skip that, but it was a pretty nice promo and passionate, and how she put over her trainer Johnny Rods and stuff like that, which is the reason that I wanted it as a means to show, how passion can really help in a promo. But that aside, we had to skip past that. But in any case, it was one of the things that I had really hoped that she would be able to get, because she just did not have a strong roster underneath her of challengers to really help her championship reign be something noteworthy. Well, now we got Killer Kelly that's returned, and that's going to help. I certainly hope that it will lead to something big for Slamovich. Whether that means her retaining the championship or not, having some names to really kind of push off against is a big deal for her. Her being Masha Slamovich. So I'm looking forward to that. It is helping to buff out the roster. We've already seen Blanchard come in. That came in with a little bit of controversy. Yes, that is true. And yeah, there's some people that's not going to accept her regardless of what she does or how good the match is. And, that's fair. But who is she? The Vix Crow, Victoria Crawford. That was another one. And regardless of what she's done since she's left WWE, I think she's still, unfortunate for her, largely carries the label and the perception of the diva era of women's wrestling. So it's going to be a hard road for her to kind of climb up and show people that she has something other than that to offer. But back to the point at hand, Killer Kelly being there does deliver some sort of change in the roster. It help buff it out. Give her somebody that her, Masha Slamovich, the champion, give her somebody that could be looked at as a top contender and a hill or a mountain to climb, so to speak. So there we go. We know that Kelly was there last, March 2024. And then she had to leave because she was pregnant. It was reported, or at least has been written, that the last time that they faced off against each other was in a dog collar match, and that was a match that Slamovich won. So there's those things that's going on. Also, that a return is the Inspiration, formerly known as the Iconics. They are back in TNA. If there's anything that would surprise me there, it was the fact that the Iconics returned. I pretty much had assumed that they had just somewhat retired, and that was me. That was all me. I shouldn't have assumed, but the way that they had bowed out of wrestling at the time, I just assumed that they're probably done with wrestling at this point. But here they are. They've come back. And they are looking for tag team gold. That is currently held by the Brand of Elegance, Ash and Heather. They did add a third, if I'm not mistaken. So now we've got Cassie Lee and Jess McKay. They have come back and they returned at against all odds to show that they are looking for championship gold once again. And I think, what has it been? It's been at least a good 2 years. Also, for the same reasons, Cassie Lee had a second child while McKay had her first. So, and congratulations to them both for being moms. That is always a fair reason to have to take a step back and bow out of the wrestling industry, but they are looking to regain Knockouts Championship gold. One thing I really hope that does take place over the course of this within TNA and perhaps some other companies, is that I hope they're able to establish some strong women's tag teams. The one thing that has really hurt, I know that specifically TNA, when they instituted the Knockouts Tag Teams Championships, it was because the Knockouts are one of their highest rated segments on the show. And they were trying to provide more outlets for them to be able to showcase that. But they did that without really having a tag team division, so to speak, that they could, put on front and show off and really have some teams to help illustrate how good they were both as singles and tag teams. I am hoping that in this instance that grows and it changes and they allow them, or they pull in some more teams to help round out the roster where it is just tag team focus, not let's just take a couple of teams or take a couple of singles that aren't doing anything and slam them together. Maybe reach out and grab a couple of teams that will help buff it out. Maybe get the Money Birds from Reality Wrestling. Maybe get the King Bees, who are the former NWA women's tag team champions, and have them really chase after those tag team championships, because it'd only help make those titles better. Now, I don't know what their particular roster requirements are. I don't know what their budgetary constraints happen to be. So, you do have to take a lot of those in consideration when when you're looking at things like that. But I do think that it would be a nice little ad for any wrestling promotion. But in this case, I'm talking about for TNA wrestling. So there we have those. The King in the Ring is not just the King in the Ring, but the King and Queen of the Ring tournament is set to return. It will conclude, apparently. The finals will take place at Riyadh, Saudi Arabia on June 28th, because the WWE has to go to Riyadh once or twice a year. So we will see who is going to wind up being the Queen of the Ring in the tournament overall. This time it is due to have whomever is the Queen of the Ring to get a championship match from whatever respective brand they happen to exist in at SummerSlam. So they are trying to add a little bit of weight onto this. And as far as we have heard, and you can look at the tournament brackets, it will begin with a 4-way. So it's not going to be just a traditional tournament as it is. It's going to start with the first round from both Raw and SmackDown being a 4-way of first round competitors. The winner of those matches will then have a singles match, and the winner of those two single matches, brand aside, the winner of those two will then go into the finals, and that will take place at Riyadh. So there we have that. They did have a little backstage segment where Cargill was talking about that she is going to go through, just because she didn't win the Money in the Bank qualifier where she could climb up, she's going to climb through the tournament. And then that was interrupted by Charlotte Flair, who basically, in so many words, told her, you don't need any friends in order to get to the top here. And you should listen to your queen. And then that kind of panned out, and then you saw Tiffany Stratton, who is, by all accounts, she isn't the Queen of the Ring, but she is theoretically the reigning queen because she's got the championship. And she essentially gave them both a kind of good look and then walked off. So there we have it. I wonder if Charlotte is due to get some other championship. It doesn't feel like she has quite the championship. Reign isn't the right term. What pedigree isn't the right term either, but it doesn't feel like she is quite shooting for the titles the way that she did. She's still Charlotte Flair, and she's still, if I can borrow a term from another podcaster, she's still got her Charlotte in the bank. She doesn't have to go through these things. She just wins, or I want a title shot, and she gets a title shot, and that's it. But I wonder if this is going to be another one of those instances for her, because I can't don't know if I could really see her going back up against Stratton. Tiffany Stratton is what the new kid on the block, for lack of a better term. So we've already had Charlotte and Stratton face off against each other at WrestleMania. Will it turn back around and put them back into the ring against each other? I don't know. I think they are aiming, or at least teasing, Cargill and Flair against each other. And it's not the first time they've had this tease, by the way. They've teased it a couple of times. But is this going to be the time that it actually goes through and it takes place and they actually have some interaction with each other in the ring? That remains to be seen. Alex Windsor is now All Elite. Coming in from British Wrestling. She's declared that she's All Elite now, as is Thekla. And congratulations to them both for having that. I mean, is good for them. The only problem that I have with AEW when they do things like that, it does feel at times like you're supposed to already know who they are. Like, I try to keep up with most wrestlers, and I try to keep up with what's going on the indie scene and stuff like that, but it is a big, broad world of professional wrestling, and to say that you can keep up with everybody on the independent scene is a little rough. So I'm not overly familiar with Alex Windsor. She has a great look, but I had to go up and look up matches of her because to be completely honest, I just did not know who she was. So, but AEW just like, oh my God, it's, they'll treat her like that, like you're supposed to have already known who she is. Thekla, she's here, that type of thing. She's another one. Did not really know who Thekla was, and yeah, it's wonderful that they get the shot, and I'm glad for them. But, I really think, I wish they didn't treat it as if, sure, you know who this person is. They're already a star. Didn't you know them from the independents already? I wish that AEW did not necessarily do that. Shotzi, who is a former WWE superstar now, she's already, left or parted ways with the company, had a interview with Daria, I can't even say her name now, Bernardo. Well, we knew her on WWE television, but that was her actual name. She did go by that name in NXT before they changed it when she went up to the main roster. But she being Shotzi, talking about being replaced in the 2025 Royal Rumble, and that being replaced by Alexa Bliss, and that she was unaware of it. She said this: I heard mixed messages. A couple of producers said I was always in the Rumble. Then they told me last minute I don't know. I was very confused by it, but they didn't relay anything to me until the day before. It was like 3 p.m. the day before the Rumble, and they were like, can you get on the flight in a couple of hours? I'm like, oh my God, I'm not ready for this. I packed my bags. I don't even know what I put in the bags. I got to the airport in an hour, and it led to nothing. The day of it, I got told while I was in the makeup chair, that I wasn't in it. Honestly, if you're going to take me out for anyone, at least make it be the biggest pop of the night. I have to say, Alexa had no idea someone was getting replaced. She had no idea of any of that was going on. She felt so bad and came up to me after and was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize they would take someone out to get me in. Well, I mean, that is absolutely unfortunate. And I can understand how, one, it would make Alexa Bliss feel some kind of way, like, I didn't know that they were taking you out of this thing to put me in it. I'm sorry. I can understand how that it can make her feel some kind of way. And I can also understand how that would make Shotzi feel like, man, they just had me just jump in here and run off to be in the Royal Rumble for the sake of just telling me while I'm in makeup that I'm not going to do it. You know, that. And by the way, I know I didn't get to Daria, but Baronito, I'm hoping I'm saying her name right. Sonya Deville is who we knew her as, okay? So Sonya, I meant to say that before, but Sonya Deville. I wonder where she is right now that I'm thinking about it. But that is who this was taking place with in terms of an interview. But in any case, you know, that is how it is in major companies like that. Sometimes the decisions are made that don't necessarily work out in the favor of the talent. And unfortunately for Blackheart, she wasn't really in a strong position to be ranked over Alexa Bliss, you know, to put that lightly. Bliss had been positioned as a bigger, stronger name, and I'm pretty sure, regardless of the talent that Shotzi has, they probably looked at it like, well, you know, this would be better for, you know, the company overall if we have Alexa Bliss in there. So, I'm looking forward to seeing what Shotzi does next. Hopefully, she'll be able to show up somewhere and show the world that she's still Shotzi Blackheart and that she can still deliver the goods in the ring. I mean, I remember when she got the contract offer. I want to, was it here? I can't remember whether it was here or not. It was at an Evolve event. And I know she was wrestling, oddly enough at the time, Aja Pereira, who is a WWE referee now. And William Regal came out after that match and offered the contract to Blackheart for NXT. So that should tell you how far back that was, because he was still the NXT general manager at the time. So, but all of that to say, I'm looking forward to see where she and others go from here. But that was her little story about her being replaced in the Royal Rumble. I have received another press release from Wild Women of Wrestling and Smith House, from Smith House Strategy. This is an announcement of their Women of Wrestling first ever collectible game cards. Now, I want to say before I begin to read this press release that I, in full disclosure, am not a big game card person. So I don't know how big of a deal this is for them beyond the fact that they have their brand on a product. Okay? This is, I really wish that my buddy that had the comic book shop was still open, because he had tabletop game tournament nights and stuff like that all the time. It was a weekly thing for him and his customers. So he would probably be a far better judge of whether this is a big deal, whether it's something that he would play, whether it's something that his customers would play. I am not in a position to be able to say, well, this is, you know, this is going to sell like hotcakes or whatever the case. I'm not in a position for that. What I can say is, again, it's good on them that they have it. It's good on them that they have, I guess, the first time in WoW's history, it seems like, because I can't think of anything else that they've had a product name on, or their brand name on the product. This may be the first. I honestly cannot think of anything else. Now, I mean, the t-shirts, sure, but you can do those easy. Pro Wrestling Tees, if you got yourself a graphic designer and Pro Wrestling Tees accepts you, you could just put those things in there and it'll be print on demand. If somebody decides they want a shirt, they'll print it out that day. It's not like they got a whole stock worth of them sitting in a warehouse somewhere. So the cards are a little bit of a different element. Don't know how well this is for them. Don't know how well it's going to sell. But allow me to at least read the press release that I was sent, and is available on the YouTube channel right now if you want to go and look at that and read it yourself. This came down from Los Angeles, California on the 3rd of June. Wild Women of Wrestling, the premier all-female professional wrestling organization, is proud to announce the launch of its first ever collectible card game, bringing the fierce energy, iconic rivalries, and signature moves of Wild superheroes to fans everywhere in a whole new way. Wild, the card game, brings strategic gameplay, character customization, and head-to-head competition to the tabletop for those who love mind games, big combos, and bold personalities. Featuring vibrant artwork, action-packed scenarios, and over 141 unique cards, including power-ups, finishing moves, and signature taunts. The game allows players to step into the ring as 11 of their favorite Wild superheroes, including Chainsaw, The Beast, Penelope Pink, Candy Crush, Gloria Glitter, Tormenta, Ariel Sky, Americana, Princess Ozzy, Jesse Jones, and Abilene Maverick. Now fans can feel the thrill of the ring and build their own rivalries right at home, says David McLean, co-founder of WoW. This card game celebrates the strength, spirit, and spectacle that our superheroes bring to the ring every week. WoW Women of Wrestling is distributed by Paramount Global Distribution. WoW, the card game, is designed for 2 to 4 players and is suitable for ages 9 and up. It features fast-paced matches with dynamic gameplay mechanics that mirror the drama of the ring, from high-flying comebacks to stunning upsets. The card game is available now for pre-sale online at wowe.com. All right, so first thing, I don't know how or why they did it, but the link that they applied to this is not accurate. I don't know why they put that in the press release. And I certainly don't want to get to where like, oh man, they screwed up already. No, I don't want to do that. But the actual link, if you're paying attention, is not /game.com, is wowe.com /game/. That'll take you to their page on their website. Or you can just go to the website. It's right there at the top. It says WoW Card Game. And it gives you the little load up of from the creators of WoW, easy to learn, blah, 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 blah. Order the WoW Women of Wrestling card game. I hope that the press release is not complete, because they say 11 of your favorites as if that were all the people that you got to use, but the website doesn't really illustrate that. The website seems like, well, you can be a bunch of other people, and I hope that's the case, because if it's just the 11, half of which seems like they're not even part of the company anymore, that does set it back some in terms of presentation. I mean, the 11 that I just named off on their own press release now. The Beast is no longer wrestling at this point, and I doubt that she's coming back. If she does, I'd be shocked. Tormenta, she's still on their television right now, but she also has appeared on WWE's television. For those who didn't know that, she has showed up as Chick Tormenta without the mask. And I was told some time ago from a trusted source that she had, even while she was on Wild television, she's like, she took that mask off months ago. So WoW, in terms of that, is behind. Ariel Sky, we also know, has not been on their television some months. Americana also has not been on their television in some months. And Abilene Maverick doesn't even wrestle at this point. She's a manager. So there is that. I, again, am hoping that that is not their full representation of their roster that's being used. If you go to the page, it shows differently in that it has other names and persons that are there, like Penelope Pink. You see her listed in it. It is a little bit behind in terms of look. Like Gloria Glitter does not look like she's part of top tier. Neither does Candy Crush. So you have to take that with a grain of salt. And then we go for the order page. And for those of you who are thinking about ordering it, and if you do, if you're listening to this right now and you make the decision to order this, please let me know how this works, or whether the game's any good, or whether this is something that you recommend for somebody or not. But if you hit the link, it'll take you over to the website that has the card game for sale. It is on sale right now for $24. Even though they do have something listed like, well, if you buy it with something else, I guess they'll drop $1.20 off. Something like that. It's like $22.80. My math might be wrong, but so you can get that for less if you bundle it with something else, and that includes the other games that have like All Time Wrestling and Matt Cardona's wrestling card and AT. I think that's still All Time Wrestling. All Time Wrestling, which features a lot of pro wrestling legends, even though they might not have been necessarily licensed for it or not. But I also, as I went to this, saw a review for the card game, which was like, how is this possible? The press release just came out, and they're telling me that this is a pre-order item. So I don't know where the review from it being a month in advance came from. But let me read the review, just to be fair. The review on the page is by Jonathan Rewart. Great card game. And he gave 5 stars. Great card game. I just got my copy of WoW Card Game. I really like this game because it's so easy to teach and takes about 10 minutes to play. It's perfect for opening a game night with your kid or wife or friend. The 4-player version is good too. Well, that's awesome. I am going to wait for someone to give me their opinions about this, because I am not the person to be able to say whether a card game is good or not. I could not tell you. I've never been big into the card game scene. I've always known people that did it and liked the tabletop card games and things like that. I just have not ever been into it myself. Now, having said that, if WoW turned around and had a video game, or if they sold action figures, like for wrestling and my money, those are the big hallmark items where you want your brand name on. You want it on the action figures and you want it on the video games. If you can get that, then you're probably making some progress. But the card game, I'm going to have to leave for somebody else to actually give me their opinions about whether this game is any good or not, whether it's something they would have bought, whether it's fun, whether it's different than any other card game or not. I have no idea. I do not know. But $24 is what it's listed for. It does still feature the Beast front and center, along with not Abilene Merrick, sorry. She is on there, but along with Americana, Tormenta, Abilene Maverick, and Princess Ozzy, which when you're looking at the 4 of them, the 5, you're looking at the 5 of them, I think only one of them is like really actively wrestling on there. It looks like Penelope Pink is on the side of the box, so there you go. I mean, I don't want to I don't want to get on the card game like this is probably something that they just set up for somebody to say, but just based on what is written for the ordered card game, I guess, write-up that's on their website, doesn't sound vastly different than what he wrote. I just want to read this real quick, and then we'll move on. From the creators of All Time Wrestling, an easy-to-learn, fast, and fun card game. This game is based on WoW Women of Wrestling, the critically acclaimed syndicated wrestling show airing on CBS. The game takes 5 minutes to learn, 10 minutes to play, and is suitable for most ages. In the game, you'll be playing attack cards with the hope of dealing a devastating combo that wins you the match, while your opponent will be trying to guess your every move, rolling dice, and playing cards in the hope of reading your play and stopping you. Only one superhero can walk out the victor. Will it be you? Well, first thing I want to remind everyone that this show does not air on CBS. I don't know why they keep saying that. It is not a CBS product. It airs through Paramount Global, which is associated with CBS, and they do syndicate it on some CBS stations. It does not air on CBS. Okay? Let's make that clear, because I know there's some people that are on the WOW roster, even to this day, that tell people, we air on CBS. No, you don't. You do not air on CBS. You air on CBS affiliated stations. There is a difference. And I say that because I work there. There is a difference. So just toned down the CBS thing. Now, as far as it being critically acclaimed, I don't know what they're talking about. I have yet to have seen anybody have some critical acclaim for WoW as a program. We're not talking about the cards. We're not talking about the people. We're not talking about that. But just as a program in and of itself, I've not caught that. Maybe it is. Who knows? But you know, if you've seen this to where somebody has given it some sort of critical praise, hey, let me know. Send it to me. I'd love to see it. And speaking of interviews, as far as WoW is concerned, apparently David McClain and Santana Garrett appeared to have been on, I'm going to assume, a press junket of sorts. They've done at least 3 podcasts together in the last week or so, if I am not mistaken, where they have talked about WoW and her chasing the championship. And David McClain, you've been an innovator and a visionary and, you know, all that good stuff. And you can catch it on, I guess, a number of different podcasts right now. One of them being Fanboy Nation, which they do have the links on their site. And look, much like I said with the card game, I'm just going to say this now. I am not the person to tell you whether those interviews are worth you listening to or not. I am not the person to say that, well, you know, you got some great information about it, or, you know, whatever the case may be. I can't give you that. I can tell you that they've been on Fanboy Nation. I can tell you that they've been on Mike Rand's podcast. And there's a third one, and I can't remember the name right now. They have made their appearance. Like I said, it appears like they have just been on some sort of junket lately. Like they were just calling into these podcasts and just possibly knocking them out one after the other. But with all due respect to WoW, David McClain, and even Santana Garrett, I was unable to get through that particular, or any of those particular podcast interviews, because they all basically felt the same. It all basically felt like, hey, you guys are great, and you've been an innovator, and Santana Garrett, you've been wonderful, and WoW is my home, and you know, we have great storylines and angles, and you know, this is the premiere of women's. It was a lot of that. Not to say that they shouldn't do it, not to say that they should not promote themselves, not to say that they should somehow degrade WoW or something like that. I am just looking for the interview where they actually get to some meaty material. That's all. The second that Santana Garrett said in one of those podcasts that, oh yeah, you know, we have fantastic storyline. Once that came out of her mouth, I just turned it off. Because I was like, all right, I know this is just a WoW praise session. And again, I understand. I get it. They should promote WoW. And they should make it sound good. I just don't agree, nor do I believe that she believes that. I think that she's just there to toe the company line. Especially considering that David McClain is right there on the screen with her. They're not in the same room. It's more like a Zoom call, and they both have their individual windows, but he's still part of the interview along with her. So you can find those, and if anybody goes through it and listens to it and finds some other real information in there that I or anybody else for that matter would want to know, let me know. Drop it in the comments below. Tell me, hey, they actually did say something, or the interviewer did ask them about why this or why that. Which also brings me up to the other thing that, coworkers asking me, like, hey, why you do this stuff all the time? Why didn't you essentially apply to be part of the press junket and interview them? The same answer that I had months ago is the same answer that I have now. I am not the outlet that WoW wants to have. I'm sorry. I just am not. My style of interview is, for lack of a better term, more shoot style. And that doesn't mean that I would just be like trying to be argumentative or what the fuck do you think you do? I wouldn't. That's not to say that I would be doing that. But I would want to ask certain questions to try and get a reasonable, understandable, logical response. Why is it that this is treated like a television show more so than it is a wrestling promotion? Why would you lump all of your tapings into essentially a month and handicap yourself where you can't really adjust or do the things that you want to do? Why would you place WoW as, in your mind or in your TV show, this is the premiere of women's wrestling, but in all due respect to your champion, the Classmaster is not that? Why do you go and hire actresses or stunt women or models to try to fill in the spot of pro wrestlers when there's thousands of them available across the country and that can hit the ground running for that company right now? Those are the questions that I would want to ask. And I sincerely doubt that David McClain specifically would want to answer those. Because Santana Garrett can't answer it. She is not in charge. I doubt that Selena Majors is capable of answering that because she's a soldier in the army, basically. He would be the only person that would be capable of answering that, and I don't know if that's an answer that he would want to give. Maybe he would. Maybe he's up for it. Maybe David McClain just hasn't had somebody to ask him those questions. I don't know. If he is, if he's willing, if he just, hey, look, I'm perfectly fine coming on your show and doing that, then the doors are open. I'll accept that at any given point, but I also don't think that that is a likely possibility under any circumstances. And I will share this. At least 4 to 5 different WoW talents from the last, what are we at? We'll say 6 to 7 years. From Access TV point to present. At least 4 or 5 of them reached out, all of which have basically had the same response. Yeah, I'd love to. I'd love to talk about that. I got so much stuff to say, etc., etc., etc. Go to set up that date, gone. Never heard from again. Ghosted. Now that leads me to believe one or two things. Either they all have poor memories or just dropped out or don't like me or whatever the case may be. I don't know. Or something came up that stopped them from doing it. Take your pick. And that's my hand to God, whatever you believe in, that is what has happened on multiple occasions. Perfectly fine up until you set the date, the time, ready to go. Disappear. And it, like I said, all that does is lead me to believe that there's some level of consequence that might, and this I cannot prove. This is one of those moments. I cannot prove this. Just going off of what the breadcrumbs lead me to. That if I have anything that is questioning WoW to any degree, and every single one of them that I've attempted to do, that I've let them know that I'm trying to get this information of X, Y, Z. And it was not going to necessarily all be pleasant. Now, I'm not saying that I was going to sit up there and bury WoW, but I was going to ask those questions along with some other ones. Why is the injury rate the way that it is? Why are these people just disappearing off of television? So on and so forth. I have a list of them. And it's like once that gets introduced in the conversation, no. It's not even no, just disappear. So again, make it that what you will. Take that with a grain of salt. I cannot prove that that is why those things are happening. But if I was a betting man, I would think that there's at least either A, an NDA that's on people, or B, there's the fear that there's some kind of repercussion that may occur if I say something bad about this company. And it's on some recorded interview somewhere. So we'll leave it at that. But I will also end by saying, if I'm wrong, if the talent are willing to come onto the show, and I'm talking to active talent, and also the people that I talked to, like, these are people that were active within WoW again within the last 7 to 8 years. Whether they're still on the show or not, and we'll leave it at that. But if this is an open door statement, there's talent that's there that want to speak up and defend WoW. Tell me that, well, no, it's not that way, and this is why, and blah, 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 blah. If they want to answer the questions and they want to come on, door's open. If David McClain wants to come on and answer those questions, door's open. Nigel Zane, Selena Majors, any of them. I don't think anyone will take that offer, but the door is open. Now, we have done that. I think, I went a little longer than I thought it was. All right, so this is where I need to bridge off and get ready for the review portion of the show. But before we do that, what I've found myself liking to do lately is trying to provide some sort of platforms for some of these independent women wrestlers that are out there, both some you know, some you don't, and put up their promos, things that let you know who they are, what they're about, what they're trying to do, in a segment that I have now titled Talking the Talk. So as we get ready for the review, I'm going to lead off into the Talking the Talk segment. You sit and listen and enjoy that. Then there'll be a musical interlude, and when that is done, we'll come back and we will address and review the latest episode of WoW as of this recording and go into it from top to bottom. Stay tuned, folks. We'll be right back.
I'm Dr. The Wife, and I'm here with Vert Vixen. Vert, fantastic match. As always, player one does not disappoint. And with two girls at this point, what's next? Good Lord.
First of all, let me say that even though it was Maggie Lee and Callie Antita's debut, they gave me a fight, man. They really gave me a fight. But as always, player one came up on top. But I don't want random matches. I don't want debuting girls. I don't want new girls. I want girls that are going to give me the fight of my life. I want essence here. I want a reason to fight. Look, it's cool if you want to keep putting me in random ass matches. That's fine. I'm always going to come up on top. But guess what? I need more than that. I am done with being the girl that you throw into matches to give you banger after banger after banger. I need a title. I need a reason. Because here in Austin, Texas, in fact, you know what? In Texas, dare I say, in these damn United States, I am one of the best damn women's wrestlers that isn't fucking signed yet. And I'm not done. And I am here to show you all how good I am. Give me a real challenge, New Texas.
The path is not always crystal clear, but it does have a way of always giving Mother Endless what she wants. I've been hunting Ivy Malibu up and down the East Coast in an effort to regain my title, the Bloodstorm Pro Women's Championship. I brought the idea of this match to Three Legacies, but the perfect owner, Jason Smith, denied me the opportunity for the match. I was furious, but he offered me something of a consolation prize. The illustrious 4-second champion, little Zoe Cannon. Adorable. Zoe, you could barely hold your own against Mother Endless. So will you rise to reign against Ivy Malibu on 26th? Either way, Mother Endless wins. If you happen to take that championship, then I will have the pleasure of ripping it out of your terrified little hands. And should you lose, well, I'll at least have the pleasure of pointing and laughing at another one of your miserable, pathetic defeats. I can't wait to watch.
And we are back. It's time to go into the review of this particular episode of WoW. The slate for this episode is WoW episode 338, season 3, episode 38, title Cuffed Chaos. I don't know why they got that title. Anyhow, the air date, May 31st, the chronological number 142. And the show began with Abilene Maverick and Samantha Smart just casually walking to each other backstage. It starts off with Samantha Smart, and lo and behold, around the corner on the same hallway in the same particular time with the camera that just happened to be set up in the corner to meet them both, Abilene Maverick and Samantha Smart cross paths accidentally. Put the quotations marks around accidentally. This is basically there as an exposition dump. And before I continue on, I know there are some people out there who say that, well, they never get the chance to see these things because for whatever reason, they don't get it in their area anymore. And their YouTube channel, WoW's YouTube channel, and I can't explain why, but for whatever reason, they don't include the entirety of the show. They only do the matches. And I don't know who edits these things out because they'll chop something off like mid-sentence. And I've said probably a dozen times right now, it doesn't bother me as a wrestling fan. It bothers me as an editor. That bothers me. Like, don't chop stuff mid-sentence. Let them finish what they're saying or find a natural cut point. Don't just do that. But anyhow, that was just me sidebarring there for a second. So this is them essentially setting up for the main event later on that night that both of their charges, the Classmaster and Paola Mayfield, will be in the main event. They will be competing for the vaunted and prestigious WoW Championship. This ends with the Classmaster being the champion and 6'2". Well, this is Smart talking about it. Essentially, are you insulting me? Something along those lines. I can't remember what her exact words were. But she more or less, I don't want to say threatens Abilene Maverick, but aggressively talks to her. We'll say that. That's probably a safe way to put it. And then Abilene Maverick grabs the yardstick, the bedazzled yardstick of Samantha Smart, and breaks it. And then walks off. I found this segment somewhat pointless because later on in the evening is like it never happened. Samantha Smart walks out there with a yardstick anyway, so I was like, I'm not sure what this is for. Apparently, she just keeps a bunch of them or has one spare for just such an emergency. I don't know. So other than to set up the main event and tell you that, hey, well, we're having this match and Paola Mayfield is going to be the champion. No, Classmaster is going to be the champion. You know, that type of thing. Other than that, I was like, I just pointless. And as let me just stop and just say, I know it's going to be a shock to you for me to say this. I know. But yeah, this episode did not do it for me and I found it terrible. Yeah, it's shocking, right? I get it. But I also understand this much. For people who do not watch this week to week, if you're just looking at it for, I just want to see a match, this is probably not going to be bad for you because you won't care. The reason I bring that up, and I probably should have dropped this in the news, views, and updates. One of the things that I had dealt with over the last couple of years when I would show up at wrestling shows with the camera or went backstage or, so people found out that I had the YouTube channel or any varying reasons as to why they would talk to me or like, hey, you do this or that and the other. You would find out relatively quickly the people who were concerned about, cared about wrestling in general or not. I can't tell you the amount of times that somebody would make some suggestion to me like, well, you should just hire, so-and-so and have them act as a wrestler. The reason I bring this up now is because just recently I had somebody like, hey, you should take your videos that you have on your YouTube channel. You should run it to get the AI to make the matches for you, and that way you'll be able to have matches. In my mind, I was so disgusted. I was like, okay. One, that's opened me up for absolute lawsuit because you're telling me to take somebody's likeness and then just manufacture a match that they weren't participating in for the benefit of my own channel where they're not going to get anything from it. And two, that's like I'd have to sit there and construct this thing from start to finish with no emotion or payoff or angles or, personality or anything like that because I'm just doing this through AI. And yes, AI can duplicate a lot of things, but it doesn't do emotion. I'm sorry, it hasn't gotten to that point yet. It's amazing. It's a great tool for some people, but it should not be a substitute. And like I say, you will realize very quickly how that comes across, or people who just do not look at wrestling as anything other than this is just an acting job and people just rolling around and playing with each other to simulate a contest of some sort. And that anybody can do it. And at this point, because of that conversation, and as of me recording this, it was like 2 days ago, anybody can do it, including AI. Just stick AI and have them do this thing, right? When I look at WoW, here's the relative point. When I look at WoW, I get a lot of that. I get a lot of that feeling that we can just stick anybody in here and just go through the motions with the moves and I can't even say angles, but just the moves and what takes place in the ring, and that's good enough. This goes back to the other point. If you're just looking at it for the sake of a match, you probably get most anybody to do that. Just we'll train you up for a little bit and get in there and do what we tell you to do and be the gimmick that we tell you to be, and then you'll be fine. But it loses so much. It loses the heart of an angle. It loses everything that makes people want to watch wrestling and stay tuned to wrestling or come back and watch it again or be invested in the personalities, the characters, the personas, however you choose to define that. WoW is the exact example of what he was asking me to do. Just manufacture something. And here, when we go into this first match, is like the first example of that. The first segment of this show is Top Tier, taking on Sugar, Xena Phoenix, Kara Kai with Ashley Blaze. Ashley Blaze comes out with the babyface. She's out on crutches again. And, of course, why does she come out there? So she can go down there and sit there and talk to David at the commentating booth. Which, why? And that's why I said that before I even got going, because, yeah, I'm sure somebody's going to look at this match and be like, man, the match is fine. The match is great, or this, that, and the other. It's not the match. It's what led to this match. It's why is this taking place? Is this going somewhere? Is this supposed to get me interested in it? And nothing here makes me interested in it. In fact, here's what I expect to happen. When we get to whatever's supposed to be their season finale, I expect everything just to wrap up magically. I expect Top Tier to lose maybe the Trios Championship when it gets to series finale. Like, we're only one show away from the finale, that. And the same thing with the Classmaster. Like, well, we'll get to that, and then she'll drop it. It's nothing based on whether or not these people need the belts, whether or not they're getting some sort of engagement off of them, whether or not it's pushing anybody for viewership or anything else relative to what wrestling would normally provide. It's just matches. And if you're only looking at it for matches, then you'll be fine. If you're asking for anything beyond that, WoW falls short. So anyhow, Blaze comes out with them, and she's part of the B-roll package for them coming out too, which again, I don't understand why they even bothered to do that when she's not part of the match. She's coming out on crutches. And it's been the same thing that they would normally do when they're like, oh, we're tired of top tier, and they're gonna get theirs, and all they know how to do is cheat. It's the same thing that they've done for months. You can pick up probably any Karakai promo related to top tier for the last 6 months, and they will almost all sound the same. Almost all of them. Never mind the fact that this is exactly what I said was going to happen. This is exactly what I said was going to happen. It's going to get down to a point where they're just throwing people together as a hodgepodge team in order to accommodate top tier. And this is about as a hodgepodge as it gets. Xena Phoenix, one half of the Mighty Mites and one half of the Dojo Defenders, to try and get even with top tier. And this thing about them trying to get even with them has carried on and on and on and on. So as this is going on, we have to address that David McClain within the course of this begins his foreshadowing for the episode about the brilliant idea that he's had to have both Samantha Smart and Abilene Maverick handcuffed at ringside so they won't do anything and cause any problems. Now, I know this has nothing to do with the match that we're talking about right now, but at what point did they, particularly recently, create some sort of problems interfering? I mean, sure, they've done it. You can say Abilene Maverick interfered in Santana Garrett's match. Well, putting the handcuffs on her doesn't help Santana Garrett's situation. You can say that Samantha Smart interfered in the Classmasters matches. But those against entirely different people, and why didn't you do something about that for the persons that got cheated? When they were facing off against other heels, they barely cheated at all. So I really didn't understand it, and neither one of them had this ridiculously strong track record of just cheating. But we have to have handcuffs because, we have to have handcuffs. Anyhow, getting back to that, like I said, this was a complete foreshadowing of what you were going to get. And I already said in the previous podcast, them being handcuffed, I expect something to take place. I didn't know what. Well, I was like, but there's no way that they're going to handcuff them and some shenanigans don't take place anyway. And I got what I asked for. So this match here, the Trios Championship match with top tier and our hodgepodge baby faces, it meant nothing. It didn't mean a thing. It was just a match just to fill time. It didn't accomplish anything in terms of forwarding any sort of angle. It didn't accomplish anything for the baby faces. Top tier has done everything that top tier is going to do. I'm sorry to say whoever it is that put this team together, and I'm sorry to say it for the team of top tier, but they're not over. Top tier is not an over act. They look good. I can give them that. They look good, but they're not over. They're not doing anything for WoW that anybody else on that show is doing already. They don't drive up any sort of viewership. I am positive. It's not like, okay, we put top tier on here, then people just want to tune in and watch and make sure that, this is going on. None of that's happening. Because how could you care about this? Other than the fact that, it's a match. That's all it equates to. And so here we have the idea that, okay, well, they don't know how to win unless they cheat, which was proven more or less false by the end of the match. And Top Tier doesn't know how to put anybody over. Even you can put people over in a losing effort, but they don't even know how to do that. When the match starts off, you got Coach Campanelli and Xena Phoenix. They're going through the whatever. Well, no, let me go back a little bit further. When the match starts off, Top Tier basically just jumps at the start of the bell, beats up the babyfaces, tosses all three of them out to the floor. Babyfaces just get back in. Xena Phoenix, and she's starting it off and just like, all right, well, we'll now have a wrestling match. They start off with each other. Xena Phoenix is unable to get any sort of advantage. And before this is done, she tags out, she being Phoenix, and so does Campanelli. The timing of that is off because Candy Crush comes rushing in, and she comes rushing a little bit too soon. So she has to wait for a second. And for whatever reasons, just shoves her shoulder out through the ropes, where it is pretty evident that I am not going to be able to hit this person because you can see it coming a mile away. She was trying to hit Sugar, by the way. She's the legal person. And then Sugar takes her and runs her from one end of the ring to the other, taking her about face first into the turnbuckles. And then the heel Candy Crush fights out of the corner against all three of them successfully. Stops her head from going into the turnbuckle post, nails Sugar, nails Carakai, nails Xena Phoenix, and then just takes Sugar from outside in, walks her to her partners, and then they proceed to beat up on her. And again, I don't know how that's helping any babyface there look good. They are just there. So now we got Sugar. And this is not an indictment of talent. This is not an indictment of how good or bad Sugar, Phoenix, Kai, Glitter, Campanelli, Crush. It's not an indictment of how bad or good any of them are. But the psychology here, I do question. Like I said, I don't know what their ultimate goal was because the babyfaces were going to lose. And through their loss, they didn't get anything. It's not even like you have an arguable point of, well, they could have won if such and such had happened. They didn't even get that. In fact, you could argue it the other way around. There's a point in the match where Kai is now tagged in. She is sent into the corner of Top Tier. Glitter throws her into Campanelli, who hot shots her basically head first over the turnbuckle post into, what we would allege to be either the post on the outside or the steel bar that connects the turnbuckle to the post. And she goes down. The referee's on the other side arguing with the babyfaces. Glitter comes over and gets the pin on Kai. And now you could argue the fact that, hey, she had a pinfall. You were out of position. Where were you, ref? Not the babyfaces doing that. That's the heels. I don't know how that's making the babyfaces look good, but we'll continue on. So Kai's in trouble and she's taking a beating, trying to fight herself and get out of the corner. And I'll just say most of that is unimportant because Top Tier is more or less in control of all of this until it's Campanelli in there, and then she gets cut off by Kai. Kai is able to roll over and get herself to the babyface corner, and she makes the tag. This is after she hip tosses her way out of an abdominal stretch, and she's able to shove Campanelli off, and then she makes the tag to Sugar. Campanelli makes the tag to her partner, Crush, and Sugar comes in. Now, keep in mind, Sugar and the Mighty Mites in general have never been portrayed as anything worthwhile. All due respect to them, I'm sorry, but they have not been positioned in a way that would lead you to believe that she or her partner, if she was there, would be able to do anything. Candy Crush has developed this gimmick. I'm assuming that she probably got it from Mike Tyson, that I'm just going to bite your ear for the sake of biting your ear. Now, I'm sure somebody will be like, well, that's cheating. Okay, yeah, sure it is. But it's also not something that anybody's going to look at like, well, she bit her ear, so that would help her get the pin. That is not going to help her get the pin in any regard. It might get them disqualified because it's not like she's trying to hide it. It's not like it's some sort of secret that she's doing it. So the bite would more or less hurt them. Yeah, it hurts Sugar. But, I mean, physically speaking, if it were real. Yeah, it would hurt her in that regard. But outside of that, it just, it means nothing. It means nothing. So we get to the part of the match where everybody has to do their thing. It's just one move after another. We start off with, who is that? Kai comes in, and she hits her little Ferris wheel slam on Campanelli. Then Crush comes in, and she does a... I think it wasn't a TKO. She did an attitude adjustment. We'll call it that because I don't know if she has a name for it. Sugar catches Crush with a bulldog. Glitter comes in and does the aerobic annihilator. And then she gets caught with a high knee by Xena Phoenix. Everybody's down, and then Campanelli gets up and catches her with a neck breaker. Everybody's down on the mat. So we got our moment where everybody got the chance to do their thing, and big to do, and the referee is counting like, hey, what do you, 1, 2, and now keep in mind at some point earlier in the match, the babyfaces couldn't get the pin because they didn't have the legal person in the ring. So again, it's not like the heels cheated. The babyfaces didn't keep up with who's legal and who wasn't. So we get all three of them up. The referee doesn't have any sort of control to this situation. All three are in, well, let me rephrase it. All 6 are in the ring. All 3 heels are in the center. They're beaten up by the babyfaces. The babyfaces then run all 3 into their respective corners of the ring. It is reversed by the heels. The heels now, instead of the heels going into the corners, the babyfaces go into the corners. The heels charge in, and they try to, we'll say, go for shoulder blocks, but, they're clearly setting themselves up for sunset flips. But all 3 get caught in sunset flips by the babyfaces. And all 3 babyfaces, all 3 of them are pinned. Campanelli pins Karakai clean as a whistle. The other 2 who aren't heels, who aren't legal, are using the ropes to hold him down, but they're not legal. So it doesn't matter. Referee goes over there, counts Campanelli, who has to her credit, a great roll up on Karakai, and then that's it. 1, 2, 3. The heels win clean, and they're done. Why would I care if they get another match against Top Tier? 3 simultaneous pins on the babyfaces, and the heels win clean. So they can hold on to their vanity belts, which don't mean a thing to anybody other than Top Tier in their own minds. They have no angle or feud of interest. It doesn't do anything. This needs to stop. And the only thing you got out of this is that Karakai looked heartbroken at the end of it. Now, on their Instagram, they had some follow-up where the babyfaces are walking through the back, including Ashley Blaze, and they're like, well, they can't win without cheating. It just makes them sound whiny. It makes them sound whiny and like people who can't get the job done. How many times have they tried? And it's not like they get any significant win. The one win that they did achieve essentially was erased 2 weeks later. this top tier, I can't even call it a feud. But whatever it is that top tier is a part of, this just needs to end. This needs to be done. And whatever happened to the footage that they showed the top tier having a fallout with each other? What happened to that? Didn't go anywhere. Never addressed. Never even brought up. It just stopped. I can't even say it stopped. It didn't start because it was part of footage that they were showing as a preview for the following week. And they just never did anything with it. How someone could look at this episode and be like, man, this was fantastic. How they could do that is just mind-boggling to me. Is mind-boggling. But anyhow, and maybe, and I might have answered my own question. Maybe that's the reason why WoW doesn't include any backstage angles or things like that on their YouTube channel. Because if you got a chance to see it, you might actually agree with me. You might look at this and like, you know what, that doesn't make any sense why they did that. What was this for? You might actually look at it and feel the way I do about this show more often than not. Because when you lay it down and you look at how they got from one thing to the next, from start to finish, this is how it lays out. Doesn't make any sense. Things get skipped over. It doesn't make the baby faces look good. In fact, most baby faces on here look completely stupid. But we'll move on. The next segment was probably the best match of the show. Sylvia Sanchez and Santana Garrett. Now, my poor Sylvia Sanchez, my poor sweet Sylvia Sanchez, what have they done to you? What have they done? Oh. And she's a good wrestler. She's starting to show more fire and personality and intensity out there. But the problem is that Sanchez has been largely minimized to putting on a good match and taking a loss. Now, that's got to be somebody's job. So I cannot fully be like, well, they're just treating her wrong. But she never had a chance. From start to finish, she's never had a chance with her first partner, with her second partner, with her third partner, and as a singles. She has never had a chance. Las Banditas version 1, 2, and with Fury as a tag team partner. She has never gotten the opportunity to do anything, even get close to being a main event player there. She's just there to provide a good match. And that she'll do. She will do that. Especially when she's in there with somebody that can give a good match with her. And Garrett is one of those persons that can do it. Now, the commentators, before I even say anything about this, let me just be clear. I certainly am not minimizing the loss of a parent or anything like that. I'm not in the least. Okay? That is a heartbreaking thing no matter who it happens to or when it takes place. My issue with the commentators is that it's become Santana Garrett's defining thing for sympathy. They keep going back to it. Yeah, okay, I get it. It happened. And they did bring it up before. But we're continuing on this path with that over and over and over again. She needed to have something else for you to sink your teeth into and believe in Santana Garrett over. Beyond just, well, she's doing this for her dad, David, or, that. It needs to be more than that. It was the same thing that they did when they had the Battle Royal. How far back was that? They shoehorned it in. Well, she's trying to win this battle royal for her father. All right. You can't keep going to the well for this. But every time you see Santana Garrett in some sort of, quote, meaningful competition, that comes up. She's got to have something else. It cannot be. She's doing this for her father all the time. And again, not minimizing the loss of her father. But it's all they seem to fixate on when it comes to her. Give her something else. It's kind of the same thing that I said about Miami Sweet Heat. It's like you can't just keep, we want a title shot, we want a title shot, we want a title shot, we want a title shot. You know, it just can't be that constantly. They have to be able to do something else at some point, sometime. It's got to be able to go someplace else besides just repeating the same thing ad nauseum. Because I'm concerned that if she gets another title shot, that's the first thing they're going to throw in there. Well, she's trying to win the title for her father. And how many more times are we going to be stuck in this loop of Santana Garrett trying to get a title shot? It's like nothing's changed. We already heard Genesis, a week ago. David, you cheated me. I need a title shot. I deserve a title. It's back to that. And Santana Garrett is essentially back to the well, she's trying to earn her way back up to the top again. Why? How many times? Where are the baby faces here? Where are all the baby faces that you should be rooting for? Why haven't you at least tried to make somebody else? I mean, my gosh. And again, McLean brings it up again. We're going to have both matches handcuffed. They won't be able to interfere. Driving home that foreshadowing. That if he says they won't be able to interfere, of course they're going to interfere. Somebody's going to do it. Anytime that they've done this since this show has been back on the air, the same thing happens. If they beat it to death throughout the course of that show, you can guarantee that it's going to take place. And that's what happened here, but we'll get to that. For those of you that remember or have been tuning into this podcast for a while, you might remember the name Maestro. Maestro is the alias of one of my coworkers who sits there because, we'll reset the table here. We're in a television hub. We're watching the program. We're watching several programs, actually, from across the country on CBS affiliate stations and including CBS main stations. Looking at it from Atlanta to L.A., or I should say more appropriately, from New York to L.A. And as we do that, WOW is one of the shows that comes up, every Saturday, every Sunday for us on various stations across the room. And that is how a good chunk of the people that's in the room, a good chunk of the master control operators started watching it. Watching it basically because of me. Now, I would say out of the people that began watching that, 95% of them have fallen off of it. It just did not maintain their interest. They stopped watching. They all started, but they just stopped. And it became more fun for them to make fun of it than to sit there and watch it. And the only person that really stuck in and keeps watching it to this day is Maestro. Now, if I've brought him up before, some people know that I said Maestro, nice guy, but he does look for problems in this show where there are none. And this is one of them. This is one of those matches where he was looking for an issue that didn't exist. Why didn't you lock it up like that? They shouldn't be doing no lock up like that. They should be doing this, that, and the other. Well, look at that pause. Look at that slap. That looks so fake. You're just looking for other stuff. Looking for things to be wrong. I bring that up to say that I fully disagree with all of that. And Sanchez, as stated before, good wrestler. I don't know if WOW is the place that is going to be able to help and or illustrate how good she can be. I would say the same thing with Santana Garrett, beyond the fact that she was part of a press junket with David McLean that I brought up earlier, which would lead me to believe that she's probably likely to get the title back at some point or whatever. But that, that's neither here nor there at this point. To use a Jesse Ventura term, the match started off with a Greco-Roman knuckle lock. And they sold that thing. They looked like they was fighting for position. And Sanchez sold the fact that her fingers were hurt off of that when it got loose, shaking her hand like, oh man, my fingers, that type of thing. As much as I talked about Garrett trying to apply a double, wasn't a cravat, was the chancery on Genesis and Mayfield some time ago that looked terrible and fake. Here it looked good on Sanchez because she only had one person to deal with it about, and she sold it and made it look painful at the same time. The other thing here is that she got it with a good power slam. Sanchez goes to the corners, and Garrett tries to follow in, and Sanchez just gives her a good open palm slap, strike, whatever you want to put it in. It looked great. It was just an open hand slap right across the side of the head. And that alone at least gave me the feeling like, okay, she's trying to get her off her, get some distance. Garrett tries to come in, and as Sanchez is up on the sitting on the top rope, so her feet on the second. She's sitting on top. Garrett tries to get her with the head scissors. No, Sanchez pushes her off. Garrett rolls through, goes back for it. So it wasn't just a case of I do this and then, all right, off I go. No, she had to actually work for it. She had to try it again. Then she catches it the second time, and then successful 1, 2, 3. Now, would I have liked another move to go on besides that? Sure. But I was perfectly fine with it. And I was also perfectly fine with most of this footage up until I saw the overacting front row guy out there dancing, trying to get some attention on himself. I hate this crowd. God, I hate this crowd. If there is anything that ever came across to me as so outrageously fake, is them. And the fact that Dave McClain was saying something, Mayfield brought in more female viewers. I'm like, sure she did. Please. Everybody wants to come in and buy tickets so they can see Santana Garrett and Paola Mayfield. Sure they do. This crowd, and maybe because I have to watch it as many times as I do, because when I am in that room, it airs, like I said, multiple times across the room. Because whereas it's airing in New York and one market, then I'll see it in Tampa, then I'll see it in Detroit, and then I'll Denver and Miami and Los Angeles. It just goes across the room, so we catch it multiple times. And so I do tend to notice the people in the backstage, especially when it just stand out the way that they do. God, it just, so awful. Awful. But anyhow, that's how that match went. Santana Garrett got the win over what was probably a 4-minute match, maybe. I really wish they could have had some time to do something significant with each other. But, beggars can't be choosers, I guess, so I have to take what it is. I'm sorry, Sylvia. I'm sorry. I don't know why they would do that, but yeah. But I also like to read the comments that they have down at the bottom with some of these things, and my gosh, I like some of these people are absolutely delusional. One of which was, I wonder if Wild Wrestling would ever invade WWE and all other factions hidden amongst the crowds and intervene in a males match might be more interesting. Are you kidding me? Wow, invade the WWE? Are you out of your mind? Look, I'm sure he meant well. That was posted under the Sanchez Garrett match by Mr. Carl Womack. But, I mean, no. WOW would be lucky if they invaded an independent. And invaded an independent and won. So, no, that is not going to happen ever. Them invade the WWE or AEW or something like that. Ha! They have nothing to gain. They being WWE or AEW, they have absolutely nothing to gain by allowing that nonsense to happen. And if it did, it would probably, if I was going to take a guess on who would be more likely to allow something like that to take place, it would be AEW. Because they got a mark running that thing. And if anybody was going to be comfortable or like, yeah, sure, we should do it, it'd be him. Outside of that, don't hold your breath. This was a nice watch, but take it for what it is. There's no angle. There's no heat applied to this, so the outcome was never in doubt. As stated before, Sanchez is pretty much there to provide the good match, which she does. She's very good at that. I wish Los Banditas had done more. I wish they were presented in a higher stage. It might have given me more reason to have doubt on who was going to win and who was going to lose. But here it was just, it was what it was. And no, I don't even disagree with how it turned out or the length of it. Now, personally, would I have liked it to be a little longer? Yeah, maybe, let's say, the match in and of itself, bell to bell, 6 minutes. Not the video, but the match, 6 to 8 minutes. Because the match, like I said, is probably about 4 minutes long. And I think that way they might have been able to deliver something more compelling. And it could still have the same outcome, but I think you would have given Sanchez the chance to sell a little bit more for Garrett, maybe get 1 or 2 spots in. She doesn't need a bunch of them. But just enough to raise the excitement of the match. We'll say that. The next segment, a trios match for them. Daisy Lane, Chainsaw and Fury taking on Spring Break 24/7. Now, I started off with saying there's no way that Spring Break 24/7 is getting a win here. There's no way that is taking place. And if Garrett and Sanchez was only a 4-minute match, this thing had to have been all of like 2. Which, in fairness to WOW, it should have been. Once Spring Break 24/7 got established as the job team that they are, by not being competitive with Classmaster in the least, and just taking like a kick in the gut and becoming completely unconscious, like that already told me that there's no reason for them to be competitive in this match whatsoever. And side note, there's not a person out there that watches wrestling at all that looks at Daisy Lane and doesn't see a cheap version of Alexa Bliss. I'm sorry, they just don't. And that's what she comes off like, is Timu Alexa Bliss. Spring Break 24/7 shouldn't even have had an entrance. I'm sorry to say that. But they shouldn't even have an entrance. The idea that we're still going to try to treat them like they're some sort of star team, that is gone. Treat them for what they are. It ain't nothing wrong. I mean, look, somebody has to do it. Somebody's got to be the jobber. Somebody has to take that position. There's no shame in that. But let's not try to pretend that they have something beyond the job of going out there and losing. They don't have any other job besides that. That is what they're there for. They don't need any opening music. They don't need any B-roll. They don't need any of that shit. They just need to go out there and be in the ring. One of the other friends of the show, we'll call him CeeLo, he said, he's like, they should have just been standing out there by the time the other team came up. And I agree. They should have just been standing out there waiting for the match because they aren't stars here. And that ship has long sailed. Now, the only thing in this match that I will say made it palatable and logical that there was any sort of competition that took place in it is that Daisy Lane started it off. Lane and Sandy Shore started the match off. And it started for the couple of seconds that they had. It started off competitively. But you could believe that Shore might be competitive with Lane, even though we know that she ain't going to beat her for whatever thing, it's just going to result in whoever's on the opposite side and out of spring break 24/7, which I still don't even know what that means. We know that they're going to lose, right? But it is believable that Daisy Lane could and would be the one that could be in there and Shore could be competitive against that person. Now, why Fury was getting the best of or gotten the best of by Sandy Shore, that I don't know. Maybe we'll just apply that to her being surprised. But when Fury gets into the ring, because, Shore probably the only one part of 24/7 that can actually do some work. When Lane gets out and Fury gets in, we'll just say that Shore got the drop on her. Got a couple of moves in, hit her with a great neck breaker, and then Chainsaw had to come in and more or less save the day. Pick Shore up. While the referee's just standing there like, hey, what are you doing? And I like Charlie, but, since I know he has to do what he's got to do. But, yeah, Chainsaw should have pretty much been able to just beat all of them up on her own, which she more or less did. So she came in, stopped Sandy Shore from getting whatever pin attempt that she was going to get. Bay and Waters, and I don't know why those two are on national television. For the life of me, I do not get it. Nor do I get how David McClain can have them two on their roster and say that we have the best women wrestlers in the world. It boggles me. Boggles my mind. But they both get in and they run directly into a choke slam. Bay comes in and gets caught with the choke. Waters comes in and gets caught with the other hand with the choke. And, when you're trained by a while, you're taking the choke slam. They all know to do the same thing. Stand there, grimace, and shake your head no. However briefly you might do it. They're like, no, don't slam me. Chainsaw slams them both. They go down and they're done. They're out for the count. Fury gives a quick backhand to Shore, which drops her. Tags in the Lane. Lane comes in, gets spun around, slammed on top of Shore. 1, 2, 3, we're done. So relatively short match. What was it, like a minute and a half? It was the squash that it needed to be. So no complaints there. It was a filler match. It was just something to have. And yay, I guess. Now, what I didn't understand is where were we going with Veronica Varoom scouting Fury? What happened to that? Is that done, or is it just going to pop back up when she shows up again on another episode and they just resume as if nothing took place? And Fury, why is she just being tossed around from one team to the next? Cameraman did a bad job at the end where they do their final pose and Chainsaw hoists Daisy Lane up on her shoulders and they just completely drop Fury out of the shot. I mean, they should have got all three of them in there opposed to that, but I guess the mandate has always been make sure you get the WOW logo or something like that. But hey, it is what it is. McLean called this a great trios match. I don't know why. It probably went 2 minutes and at best. So I don't know what a great trios match in his worldview happens to be. But we'll end with that to say that I agree with the outcome of the match, obviously. I disagree that Spring Break 24/7 should continue to be treated as, and for lack of a better term, promoted as stars. Just look, if their feelings are hurt, then their feelings are hurt, but they're not stars. They aren't presented as stars, and they just need to accept that. And they need to just be put in the position that they are. They're there to do the job. That's about it. So let them do that. Anyhow, next segment. It's promo for the main event, which is Mayfield and Classmaster. Good, I guess. McLean oversells all of this, like he tends to do. The next segment after that, Sibley Scoles interview segment, which she says we're in the locker room, which she clearly is not, and pitches to the video recap of the Fab Four breakdown. The Fab Four, in this case, consisting or after we get out of the recap video, the Fab Four in the backstage or in their locker room, consisting of Lana, Star, Holly Swag, Penelope Pink. Swag is upset, and Pink says that he don't want to mess with her. This is essentially the footage after they both got clobbered in the head by the steel chairs that they gave to their former partners, Miami Sweet Heat, hoping that they would beat each other up, but then they turned on Swag and Pink. So I cannot knock either one of these ladies in the promos, Holly Swag or Penelope Pink. I do think that they are trying to do the best to make the best out of theoretically a bad situation or a bad angle. They're trying their best to keep that thing afloat. And their personalities are the best thing that are about this angle at all. Doesn't necessarily all make sense, but their personalities are the one thing that keeps this relatively interesting and or afloat. We have never seen why Pink and Lana Star are okay with this scenario. It's never been explained. It's never been explained why Lana Star is just like, hey, I'm tossing all my chips in on Swag and Pink as my tag team now. It's never been explained why Penelope Pink is perfectly fine with trying to screw over her stablemates of the last 3 years. Swag, you can argue the point like, well, she's an outsider and she doesn't care. But outside of that, we don't know why they're doing this. It's just, let's just do it. If it is a case of, well, they're the biggest competition we have and we got to destroy them, then do something to illustrate that. They've never illustrated it. It's just left open to the interpretation of the crowd or the viewing audience. So I don't know. I don't get that, and I probably never will. The next segment is a video package on the Classmaster and Paola Mayfield. McLean does the voiceover for this. Samantha Smart gives a pep talk because we cut to the Classmaster sitting in the control room like an eager student watching Samantha Smart talk to her about what they're going to do that night. Yeah, okay, whatever. This also gives way to Abilene Maverick and Mayfield doing their promo, walking down the WOW hallway, which is the, I guess, substitute for the WOW steps. It started off as something that I liked. Now it's been done too much and is pretty much just a heel hallway. Because what better way to have a conversation with the camera than while we're walking through this hallway so everybody can see the posters that we have put up. McClain's voiceover says that the Wild Championship is the most prestigious title in women's wrestling. I believe that he believes that. And that's about as much as I can give it. Because there's no way. Now, to be clear, I'm not saying that he shouldn't try to promote the title as something massive or big or prestigious. I'm not saying that. But I've also said months ago in previous podcasts that one thing that WoW has not done, especially since they reestablished themselves, is show or establish their identity. Either their identity as a promotion, which they're not, they're just a TV show, or the identity of the championship and why it is prestigious. I mean, they probably should have worked on that. There's no lineage to it that they can really sink their teeth into. There's no championship matches that they can really illustrate and show, like, well, you know, look at how hard these people are fighting just for the opportunity for the title, you know, stuff like that. They've never really done that. It's just that this is the Wild Championship, therefore it's prestigious. And they leave it at that. And as I said, I believe he believes that. But I, and probably some other people out there, not all, because I know WoW has this dedicated audience. But it being the most prestigious championship in women's wrestling is a real tough pill to swallow. It is a hard, tough pill to swallow to be like, this is the most prestigious title, especially when I see the main event that you've got and the champion that you have. I cannot look at this belt as anything prestigious. I just can't. I have a very hard time buying that. The next segment is a promo for Garrett versus Reina Del Rey. This is framed as Garrett trying to re-earn a title match. So we're back to her chasing the title again. We just talked about that with Sanchez and earn herself back up the ladder. Broken record time. Where are the baby faces? Where are the other baby faces? Where are they? Why is nobody else attempting to go after this title? Same people. And I'm not saying that she shouldn't have the chase for the belt. But they've done so much to damage Santana Garrett as a viable contender. Like, I could sit there right now, if they put me on their television and they said, debate about why she shouldn't get the championship. I could probably give you like 3 or 4 reasons. All of which would stick because their own TV would support me. David McClain wouldn't be able to debate that. Other than, well, she's Santana Garrett and she does a shot. Why? She's had multiple shots that you yourself have taken away from her. She won a number 1 contendership match that you took her out of. She got cheated and didn't get a title shot then, so why does she have to re-earn it now? Whereas everybody else gets to walk out there like, I want a shot, and then they get it. No one there would be able to debate that argument. Not even Santana Garrett. And I like Santana Garrett. They left her no room for error. Or that she got cheated or that she should be. It should have been her in this main event to begin with. If they wanted to get some sort of sympathy on her. And they should have had a different finish, but, you know, we'll get to that also. But this is just on and on and on. Every babyface there just cannot get the job done. And it's not that they can't get the job done. They don't even come close to getting the job done. See the first match with our hodgepodge baby faces in top tier. Not even close. And then we finally go to the main event. Is it the final segment? Yeah, close to it. Paola Mayfield with Abilene Maverick versus the Classmaster and Samantha Smart. That was your main event. The main event of this program, featuring these two top contenders and one champion, began with the commentators, I believe it was Nigel, referencing this show as a blockbuster episode. I also understand that, you put the show over. Can't be mad at them, but I don't agree. If for no other reason than the first match and the last match, the two in between were okay. They were, some were pretty good. They were short, but they were good. While shows essentially to establish that, Samantha Smart cheats for her client, they showed the Classmaster winning the Battle Royal. They roll back to that when she comes out here. Now, Paola Mayfield comes out first. I did neglect to mention that. And then you have the Classmaster and Samantha Smart with their normal entrance and the B-roll, as did Maverick and Mayfield. They got some B-roll to set them up and coming on out to the ring. It's just Classmaster's B-roll that they like to play on top of her. It just looks far more ridiculous than Mayfield. At least Mayfield tries to, I guess, either look sexy or serious or both. Classmaster just looks like she is in constant joke mode. It drives me crazy. Always with the faces. It is bad enough that she is a gimmick from head to toe. Cap and gown, schoolgirl outfit, the book. Then the faces. I mean, whew. I wanted to believe in her. I did. But not just her, but the package of the Classmaster just does not do any favors. I am certain that Smart is probably actually a smart young lady, and she was very accommodating when I did speak to her. I just don't think that she has a grasp on the wrestling business. And I hate to say it, and she doesn't have to, because she's at WOW, and she's probably not ever going to try the wrestling business beyond this company or beyond this program. So, getting back to the point, she's not a strong enough promo to help make the Classmaster into something else. And the Classmaster is so gimmicky, it's hard to take it seriously. So by virtue of that, it doesn't make the championship seem valuable, important, or however you want to put it. And then we go to the match itself. The match itself is a heel versus heel confrontation. And if it weren't this audience, which I'm 99% is curated for TV, who would you even know to root for or boo against? Or, they've not placed anyone in the sympathetic role as this is, relates to this match. It is just simply a match that has two heels facing off each other for a championship. So anyhow, both, I was going to, for lack of a better term, I'm going to say teams. Both teams came out, and McLean announces what we've heard all show, that they're going to have to be handcuffed at ringside. Starts off by telling Abilene Maverick, you will be handcuffed. So we get the shot of Samantha Smart getting to laugh at Abilene until she discovers that she too will be handcuffed. That is also the point where they decide to give the previous video of the Classmaster winning the Battle Royal because of the aid of Samantha Smart, which I don't even remember if I said that time. I didn't find it as some massive cheating thing that you could look at and be like, oh, well, you know, that she does cheat for her a lot. You know what I mean? It was a moment to say that Samantha Smart stopped her from going out over the ropes, which I guess could be argued that she might not have did in the first place. But all that did for me is it made me feel like they did not have enough footage of Smart doing anything relative to her cheating for her client to win. It's not it just isn't enough. Now, I'm sure they could have gone back to before the Classmaster had the title and used some of those. But it just, they don't have enough footage, particularly during her championship reign, to show how much Smart cheats for and endorses or helps the Classmaster win a match. At least not in my opinion. And the cheating that they did do at the times that they did it, questionable. But let's look at the match, because I wrote down, within seconds of this match starting, Mayfield screws up. And I don't know how many times McLean during the course of this had to repeat there won't be any interference because they're handcuffs. So again, beating people over the head was something, I guess, so that when it happens, you can be like, oh my gosh, I didn't think it was going to happen, but he told me it wouldn't, so anyhow, picking this match up after both parties are handcuffed in the corner. And I've already given you the start of it, and you knew something stupid was going to happen. And once you saw who the referee was, the same one that got knocked out cold when Mayfield clotheslined him, and then he was just out on the floor, just in a coma, couldn't do anything, move. Once I saw him, I was like, oh, I know some stupid stuff is going to happen now. So the bell rings. Let us, and we can go through this thing together, matter of fact. If you are on YouTube and you are watching this, I am going to be picking this up at 4 minutes, 49 seconds. I don't know why I wanted to start with 40. But 4 minutes, 49 seconds. At the bell, I am going to be picking it up from that point. Now, bear in mind, YouTube does like to throw commercials in and whatnot. If I'm not feeling lazy, I will try to drop this video on top of the podcast that you're watching if you're on YouTube. If you are listening to this just in straight podcast form, you can catch me at that time code, and you can see exactly what I see and watch what I watch. So here we go. I'm going to count down and say play, and then you can play it at the same time. So let's try that. It's 3, 2, 1, play. So now we see Classmaster and Mayfield circling around. And before the class, you see it right there, she's about to go after, do the lockup. Mayfield turns around and then just ignores it, which forces the Classmaster to have to move back. Like, okay, we can't start that spot. Now we got a little exchange between the two. We saw the waist lock. She charges in like a locomotive, misses. Wind up punch. She jumps in with a forearm shot. Tries to get a snapmare, too big, and the Classmaster tosses her off. So we get the inevitable show of strength, shotgun drop kick. And in the background, you can see all the wild drones back there just with their thunderclappers and everything. Mayfield going after the leg, not really sure why. She does not really perform a leg lock of any sort, figure four or otherwise. And it does get to a point where I start to question what the Classmaster is doing. She has been we see a little clip of the leg, and then we try to get up to the ropes, and here we can't do that. Slip, come down. Now Classmaster comes in. This is your main event. Comes down off of the shoulders, look like she lost her footing there and went down. She should not be on national TV. I'm sorry. She shouldn't. It's not that she can't be good. It's not that she's just the worst thing I've ever seen. This is supposed to be your main event representing your top talent. And she just isn't there yet. I don't care how many followers she has. Anyhow, back to the match. Classmaster, look at the suplex. Which for that, I would say, great. But at some point, she decides to turn into a technical wrestler. I don't know where that came from. It's like she doesn't really adopt or maintain a style or a finish. We see not Maverick, but Mayfield jumping up into the shoulder tackle there. Meanwhile, on the outside, we got Maverick and we have Smart making noises and doing stuff, which they should. Good for them. Little Beal across the ring by the Classmaster on Mayfield. And you notice Classmaster is seemingly handling this fairly easily. Right? She's in control. And she more or less stays in control throughout this match. Which then begs the question, why is it that she would have needed to cheat in the first place? I don't like how Mayfield comes down on her shoulder. Look like she might just land on that thing and pop it out of place. But that's her business. How she takes her bump is how she takes her bump. So now we got this. This is one of the little points in the match that one of my buddy's question, CeeLo, matter of fact, what we talked about earlier. We got Classmaster applying a Boston Crab, sinking it in on Mayfield. And he's like, well, for what reason did she let this thing go? We seen Mayfield trying to get some shots on the Classmaster. And that could just been a case of, the camera angle did not work for that spot. Because you didn't see whether Classmaster was in pain because of the shots to the knee. You didn't see whether it was because of that she let go. She just, as far as you saw, she just let go. Wasn't a good shot for it. Then we go into the submissions, and we see that she pops her down. In that particular case, I don't know why she let go of her. Now, at some point within the course of this match, I just had a commercial pop up. So if I am off track with you at this point, just bear with me. I'll try to bring that back around. But you knew that having the managers at ringside was going to create some level of problem at some point in time. Regardless of what McLean said or how many times he said it, like I said, one thing that you can count on in the Wild episodes, if they drive a point home as far as a stipulation or something that is or is not going to take place, you can guarantee that thing is going to take place. Like I said, he spent pretty much the entirety of this show telling you that this was not going to happen. Well, there won't be interference. It won't happen because this handcuffs. So you can pretty much guarantee that it was going to take place somewhere, somehow, because stupid things were going to happen. So I am at the point now the Classmaster is doing a little ground and pound thing. She's punching on top of Mayfield, beating her up. There are points where she does the dominant thing. This is not one of them. Where she hooks in a chin lock for whatever that's worth over here. Stupid face. You might as well just put that on a T-shirt and put the words underneath it. Wow, you might sell a few. Stupid face. But anyway, where was I? The chin lock, the submission hold. She's constantly, she's been doing this a couple of times in the course of the match. Did not feel like she was trying to go for any great victory. It's like she's just picking Mayfield apart, which in and of itself not necessarily a bad thing, but they've always tried to sell Classmasters being big, powerful, dominant. You expect some massive moves, sidewalk slam, body slam, power slam, suplexes, things like that. Instead, she's going after the leg. She's going after the knee, and I'm not sure what for because I don't know if she even has a leg lock of any sort. Here's a head vice that she's trying to do, which does not look good. I mean, she's leaning in and she's got her forearms in there, but it's one of those things like she, as the Classmaster, hasn't established that that's something that she does. Didn't necessarily cover that power, so it looked like she might have dropped her on her head a couple of meters off. So we get some covers. Look at the front row out there. Look at those fans. Well, they're into that thing. All of them clapping. Who are they clapping for? I don't know. They're just doing it. because that's what they're trained to do. You got Smart for as her vaunted intelligence trying to break steel. And Classmaster in there with some version of a, not an arm bar, but she had like a wrist lock. And here we go. I think we are now getting to where the money part of the match is. Because, as stated, between Classmaster Mayfield and the referee, it is quite the journey with them. I mean, I didn't expect much between the two of them. When I saw the ref, I knew I wasn't expecting a lot. So we get Classmaster. She tosses Mayfield face first down to the bottom turnbuckle, and then we get, I guess, a cheating spot by Smart. I don't understand the grabbing of the hair. I don't know what that would necessarily do. And then we see Classmaster on the other side. You see her holding the arm of Mayfield, so she can't, not Mayfield, sorry, Maverick, so she can't do anything. It's like they're trying to put Mayfield in the position of the sympathetic babyface, or the sympathetic heel at least, but why would you feel sympathy for her? She's almost the de facto babyface in this instance, but why would you feel sympathy for her? So anyhow, we see Classmaster thrown towards the referee and has got to stand there for almost 10 seconds looking at each other like they're dumbfounded, like, I don't know, what do I do? What do I move? Then she gets out of the way, and Mayfield comes in, splashes the referee. He's out cold after he moved himself into position. So that Smart can go over there and grab the key, and we hear Dave McClay, well, she's going to I think she's free. Maverick is asking for the key like it would be a smart idea for her opponent's manager to get the key and give it to her. She being smart, goes over there, gets the book. After she gets the key out of his pocket, slides it in the ring, which is a dumb spot, by the way. This is so stupid. Anyway, slides it into the ring. Wakes up the referee who was, out cold a second ago and previously couldn't do a thing, but now is shaken back into consciousness. After she handcuffs herself back to the post, negating the fact that the guy that instituted this entire thing is at ringside calling this. And allows it to happen like I am just powerless to do anything. What? She took her handcuffs off. What do I do? So she gets the handcuffs off, like I said, gets the book, slides it in. Mayfield stops it. Classmaster hoists her up in her, whatever her finish is, school expulsion or whatever. Slams her down on the thing, and then she gets the pin 1, 2, 3. That's the important parts, other than the ridiculous spots that preceded it. The question I got in the room at this point was pretty simple, and I agree. What did the book do? He's like, I could see if she picked that thing up and smacked her in the head with it. But she essentially got her up in a move that she has used to pin people repeatedly throughout the show. So if you're going off of whatever logic you may have, whether she dropped her on the book or not, it looked like she would have won anyway. She almost really didn't even need Samantha Smart to do anything. And I'm like, yeah, you got a good point there. It is almost like she didn't need Samantha Smart to win anyway. It was like, okay, yes, I'm fine with the heel cheating for the sake of cheating. I'm fine with that. But in this instance, as I said, it's like they were trying to paint Mayfield in a sympathetic role for whatever reason they're trying to do. She's a heel also. So I don't know why you would get sympathy on it, but let's just go with the idea that that's what they're basing this match towards or leaning it towards. She is cheated by another heel who she would have cheated against if she had the opportunity. But she got dropped on the mat with the Classmaster's finish. There is a good point to say that, well, wouldn't she have gotten the pin whether the book was there or not? There's no point in WoW's history where somebody kicked out of somebody else's alleged finish. And I say that because some of them just rotate through 2 or 3 of them. But seriously, no one has done it, so why would now be the first? Why would Mayfield, of all the people on the roster, be the first to like, oh my gosh, she kicked out of the finish? There's a point to be, or argument to be made that Classmaster would have won anyway. Mayfield was at a disadvantaged position, most of which takes place before the key was gotten. For the referee who was knocked out all over again, and that, I understand it's wrestling and there's the ref bump spot. But come on. He's a grown man who just got knocked out by this woman that probably weighed 160, 170 pounds charging into him and wouldn't have woken up if he wasn't shaken back into consciousness. Now, I ain't saying that a woman can't knock out a man. So please do not take that out of this conversation. But what I am saying is that he goes down at the drop of a dime no matter what happens to him. And it just becomes very cliche in this instance. It becomes a joke. Clothesline by Mayfield. He's down for the count. Splash in the corner by Mayfield. He's down for the count. I mean, I just wish they would at least try to present it a different way. Like, oh my God, she squashed him and he's out of breath, not knocked out. Or his eyes get raked and he's incapacitated for a while instead of being just unconscious. And I'm sure that's not going to stop. And I certainly dread that they're going to try to find some way that, she got cheated. She deserves another. That. I dread that. Because I feel like it's something that they would do. And this is what not the whole angle. I'm sure they got more going. But the last batch of number one contenders match, this was the crescendo for that. This was the payoff for that. This match, which is supposed to represent their best. Classmaster and Mayfield. Given time, I would imagine Mayfield could be good or very good in the ring. I don't want to say she's awful. Like I said, I've seen far worse. I'm just saying, for a while, to brand itself as a top-level wrestling show, but I can't say promotion, you want to put your best foot forward in all cases that you can. And I don't believe this is one of those cases that they're doing that. She just is not ready for national TV, in my opinion, as several of them aren't, because I'm sure they went through the crash course of wrestling and like off the TV you go. But no, I don't see her as in that position just because of how she started. That was the thing that I wrote in my notes. Within seconds, she's already screwed up. Either she, Classmaster, or both did. Because all it did was make Classmaster look like an idiot, that I got to stop what I'm doing. She should have just clotheslined her in the back of the head and made her pay attention. I mean, because it wound up being a quote, cheap shot anyway, which she kicked her in the guts. But anyhow, that's neither here nor there. I am certain that there are people out there that enjoyed this and like, yeah, that's great. And congratulations, this is the best match ever. I'm sure there's going to be that segment of the Wild Faithful that's going to do that. But I really could not, in all honesty, look at this match as some sort of great championship defense. Does it ruin the show in its entirety? Maybe not, but it's one of those. I just wish they would do better. I wish they would do better. That's pretty much what I have on that particular match. Classmaster wins, she retains, and so now I'm sure we got to go through the number one contender thing again. And since they had already in the course of this show shown that Santana Garrett is back on the path of trying to get the championship, like at this point, I'm not interested. I'm not interested in seeing her get the championship. I don't care. She's already failed at it a number of times, and not even failed at it where she could get the rematch or justified coming back into the thing. I mean, she's been cheated, but it's always been, well, she's perfectly fine earning her spot all over again. People want somebody that have the will to win, to back up, not just, all right, well, any way the wind blows, give me a title shot when you need me, call me. Nobody who likes to back that up. Who wants that? What champion that has ever been of any magnitude in wrestling across multiple promotions, babyface, I'm not even talking about in heel mode, in babyface mode, with just, I'm perfectly willing just to wait till whenever you decide to give me a shot, however you decide to do it. Almost nobody. I can't even think of anybody right now. Even as a babyface, there's like, no, you cheated me. I deserve a rematch. Give me, they had to come after the person that did it. I used the term defanged a couple of podcasts ago. Santana Garrett has been defanged. She's one of many, but she's been defanged. The baby faces on this show have no drive. They're almost all generic other than Jesse Jones. She's the only one that I can think of off the top of my head that has some level of fight in her and will clap back at whoever's giving her lip. Everybody else is just, they cheated and I'm going to wrestle the good fight and fight the good fight and try to win when on my morals and, say your prayers, eat your vitamins, go to bed on time, drink your milk, etc. That's what they feel like. I could probably get behind the notion of Santana Garrett chasing the championship if she made it feel important. But when I'm seeing the baby faces on the show just like, all right, well, call me when you need me for a championship shot, how important can the belt be? I'll get it when I get it. Sure, I'll be happy when I do, but it's like no drive to get that whatsoever. Oh, goodness me. Now, as I am recording this next episode for the preview or the press release has not aired. By the time you hear me talk about this, it probably would have. So I am going to go and read the press release for the upcoming episode and give your opinions about what you think, because there is the poll up. I will also say that before I begin. I always put up the poll, at least I try to put up the poll for whatever episode is upcoming. So regardless of whether the previous review has aired or not, the poll for the episode that just aired should be there. I usually have it set to release about maybe an hour in some areas after the episode is aired. In some cases, it comes in as soon as the episode is over, depending on whether it airs at 11 or 12 in your market. But that poll is there. So as I'm about to read this, it probably would have run. But you can vote on whether you thought it was good, bad, or meh, or how I have it listed, great, terrible, or meh. And your comments always are welcome. So here we go. Let's look at the episode that I'm looking forward to, the upcoming Season 3, Episode 39, titled Rookies, Rivals, and Royalty. That's an interesting title. Having faced each other in the ring before, the stakes are higher as Australian warriors Genesis and Princess Aussie take to the ring to prove who's really the queen of the Outback. Oh, my God. I couldn't even get through the first sentence. I apologize. Let me continue on. While Foxy Fierce continues to recuperate from a brutal beatdown, Roxy Fierce tags with Chantel Chella to outfox Animal Instinct's Goldie Collins and Katarina Jinx. Show-stopping rookie recruits Vicious, Veronica Varoom, and Xena Phoenix meet in the squared circle for the first time ever, both attempting to prove they have what it takes to compete with the best of the best. Feeling cheated of her championship title match by the recent loss to Paola, the Colombian GOAT, due to her manager Abilene Maverick's involvement, Santana Garrett shifts her attention to the muscle Reina Del Rey. Well. Start at the top. 1. Why are we back to Genesis and Princess Ozzy? I hope this is just their press release speak and not the actual reason that they're having a match again, because it's ridiculous. Who's the queen of the Outback? That was pretty much their entire 3-match series before. I'm the better Australian. No, I am. Let's wrestle. Why are we revisiting this? I hope this is not what they're actually saying. Second, Foxy, why did they even bring her up? And recuperate from what? What beat down? When did this happen? And by whom? A brutal beat down? I mean, they really think highly of some of this stuff that takes place on their television. And how long is it going to take? Just as a side note, she's not like the only person that just left WoW and they have to explain her away whenever somebody relative to her comes up. Sprout Green's, oh, well, she's out protesting in an oil rig somewhere. Like, why'd you hire her? Spice, well, she's graduating college for the last 3 weeks. I mean, great that she graduated, but how long does it take to celebrate, graduate and celebrate and come back to what you're doing? It's been like a month. Americana, well, she's off taking care of her son. You hear that? And if you knew that she's been gone since, January, you might be giving him flowers or good get well cards or I hope you're okay, little guy. Shit, if you've been hurt and need help for the last 4 months, it must be some serious pain. And just stuff like that. It's absurd, the amount of this that goes on. Anyhow, Roxy Fierce tags with Chantel Chella for Animal Instinct. I'm sure Animal Instinct is going to win that. Because why would Roxy and Chella win anything? Chantel Chella is just the go-to tag partner for somebody who doesn't have a partner so she can drop the fall to whoever it is that they're wrestling. If she wins, I will be shocked and amazed. If they win, especially against Animal Instinct, because somebody in WoW loves their Animal Instinct. Veronica Varoom and Xena Phoenix, well, the first thing I'm going to be looking at to see is, are they going to bring up anything about Fury and Varoom? Because that was where they were leading everybody. Is that just dropped? I would hope for the sake of Phoenix that she would win, but who knows? WoW is a very heel-heavy program. They are pretty much on top on their show. Anytime there's any press that needs to be done, they never send the baby faces out there. They send the heels, which doesn't make any sense to me. These are our superheroes, our bad guys on TV. Talk to them. God, I mean, that sounds ridiculous. And then you want them to be booed on TV or people to lose themselves in the program and think that they're actual bad guys when they're coming out there for the crusade for the children, or let's give toys to the orphans who don't have anybody to get them presents. And like, how am I supposed to boo this person? Anyhow, who cares who wins Varum and Phoenix? I think Phoenix will take it, but who cares? And did I get those three? Yeah, okay. The main event, which we know is going to be the main event. Garrett and the Muscle, as they refer to it here at Reina Del Rey. Well, I'm pretty sure it's going to be Santana Garrett. This might be the only match where you get an Adriana Gambino standing at ringside, because that's the only time I've ever seen her do it, is when it's Del Rey. But I will not be surprised if she does what she normally does, walks her right on out there and goes straight past the ring and sits down and talks to David about who knows what. For the sake of the match, well, the match is, I expect Genesis and Ozzy to be pretty good. I see promise in Foxy Fierce, but I don't know if she's going to be able to do anything. Not Foxy, Roxy, sorry. I see promise in her, and I see that she has potential. I don't know if her working Animal Instinct is going to help that. Chella seems, in my opinion, is probably going to have her working boots on that match. Phoenix and Varum will probably have their match well memorized before they got out there. And I expect Garrett to go over in what should be a good match, but I expect it to go over. Because why? What have they done with the Alliance so far? I mean, they can have 5 people on the Alliance side if they wanted to. It doesn't make a difference now. They've already just pretty much buried that unit. And that is that. A lengthy show, but a show that was necessary, at least by me. I had to get that out of my system. I felt like this review needed all the venting I could do. So to wrap this thing on up, you can catch this and other episodes. If you're on YouTube, do the YouTube things. Like, share, and subscribe so you can catch all the episodes that I produce and review, and leave your comments of said episodes about the matches and so on and so forth, so we can engage in discussion about that. Or you can send it to me directly. Some people like to do that. If you are catching this in its audio form on various podcast platforms, a rating or comment would do wonders. Thank you very much. If for whatever reason you haven't been able to find it anywhere, I don't know how that would be possible, but if you weren't able to find it and you need a place to go, the central spot is WPNWrestling.com. Has the 24-hour stream of everything that was produced, interviews, matches, and otherwise, going back to 2013. And every podcast episode drops there as well. So, not missing a thing that I produce if you go there. That's the best spot to go. And that'll wrap it up. Thank you for your time, your effort downloading or watching this or wherever you happen to be catching. Thank you for that. I appreciate your time as well as you have given to me, or taken mine, I should say, taking the time for me to do this podcast. And I thank you for it. Gives me some place to rant. Gives me some place to have this little community, I guess, of people that want better for WoW. We'll call it that. We don't want to hate it. We want better for WoW. We want them to raise their stakes a bit. Make it a better show. Get some better matches in there. Find better talent. Make that championship actually mean something. That's what we want. That'll save me the trouble of saying something negative about it. That's a little bit easier to digest. And so with that, again, this is Mr. Green, and I thank you. And my close, this is Mr. Green saying that this is Mr. Green saying so long, and we will see you on the next go-round. Take care, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the WPN's Rights and Wrongs of Pro Wrestling. If you have questions or comments, please contact us via our Facebook or our YouTube channel at the Women's Pro Wrestling Network. If you're new to the WPN, feel free to subscribe to our channel and like our page. We appreciate your support. Thank you again for listening.